Coming live from the studio, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports, live every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. This is your host, Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I'm going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, Nhl Hockey, college football, and college basketball. So before I start the show, I hope you all had a great New Year's. I hope 2019 is a great year for me and for All Sports with Gerardo. I want All Sports with Gerardo to get bigger, better, and have a bigger audience that listens live to my weekly show. And I want more people to view my content, like or subscribe to my social media pages at All Sports with Gerardo. I have a lot of big plans, so I'm ready to begin 2019. To start off with some Major League Baseball, the Blue Jays acquired pitcher Clayton from the Padres. Free agent shortstop Troy Tulowitzki is expected to join the Yankees on a league minimum deal since the Blue Jays are still paying him the remainder of his $20 million salary. So the Blue Jays still gotta pay the remainder of Troy Tulowitzki's contract. Believe it or not, that's the contract that he signed with the Rockies back in 2010. So it was a long deal, and there's still about 2 years remaining on that contract. So the Blue Jays still have to pay Troy Tulowitzki even though they released him from the team. So the Yankees will end up not having to pay that much to Troy Tulowitzki if he does join the Yankees, or if Troy Tulowitzki were to join a different baseball team. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. The Broncos lost their final game of the 2018 season to the Chargers 23-9. For the Broncos, Case Keenum had 292 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Royce Freeman had 60 yards on 17 carries. Deshaun Hamilton had 49 yards on 5 catches. Tim Patrick had 48 yards on 4 catches. Will Parks had 1 interception. And Isaac Yadin had his first career interception. For the Chargers, Phillip Rivers had 176 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Austin Eckler had 58 yards on 8 catches for 1 touchdown. Mike Williams had 65 yards on 5 catches for 1 touchdown. Keenan Allen had 64 yards on 4 catches. Jalen Adi had 1 interception, and Joey Bosa had 1 sack. So the day after the regular season ends, it's called Black Monday, and a lot happened on Black Monday. The Broncos finally fired head coach Vance Joseph. The Broncos have had back-to-back losing seasons under Vance Joseph, and this is their first back-to-back losing seasons in 46 years. In 2017, the Broncos went 5-11, and in 2018, the Broncos finished 6-10, so they only improved by 1 game. Believe it or not, the Broncos should have had a better record this season, and they should have finished a lot better. And my prediction was that the Broncos were to go 10-6 or 11-5 this year, and at least make it into the playoffs as a wild card team. With them acquiring Case Keenum during free agency and getting a new quarterback, with them having a good draft and picking up some players in free agency, I believe the 2018 Broncos were going to be a lot better than the 2017 Broncos, but that wasn't the case. But one thing that did hurt the Broncos were a lot of key injuries to their big name players, both on offense and defense. So even if that happens to the best team in the NFL or the best team in any sports, injuries to key players will definitely hurt your team, because then your team can't win as many games as they could if everyone is healthy. So injuries was definitely a major key to why the Broncos didn't win more games and have a better record this year. But with head coach Vance Joseph, their system just wasn't working whether they had the players or they didn't have the players. So the Broncos knew it was time to move on from Vance Joseph. The Broncos want to make it back into the playoffs in 2019, since they haven't been back to the playoffs since 2015 when they won Super Bowl 50. Right now I'm going to give you a review of the Broncos 2018 regular season schedule, and I'm also going to get into who their opponents are in 2019. So the Broncos landed up finishing 6-10 in the 2018 season. So right now I'm going to go through the Broncos 2018 regular season schedule, and I'm going to tell you what games they won, what games they lost, and what my predictions were to as what games they were going to win or what games they were going to lose. Originally, my prediction for the Broncos before the season started was that they were to go 10-6 or 11-5 and at least make it into the playoffs as a wild card team, because I knew the AFC West was going to be very competitive between the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders. My prediction was that the Chiefs were to win the AFC West and the Broncos make it in as one of the wild card teams. So right now I'm going to go through the Broncos schedule. In week 1, the Broncos played the Seahawks at Mile High Stadium. They did win this game. It ended up being a close game, and I originally picked them to win this game. In week 2, the Broncos played the Raiders at Mile High Stadium. They won this game. They only won it by 1 point, and I did pick them to win this game. In week 3, the Broncos went on the road to Baltimore. They landed up losing this game, and I originally picked them to win this game. But I do know when you go to Baltimore, it's hard to play in that stadium and pull out a win. So I was kind of going back and forth with this game. But I knew the Ravens did have a good chance at winning this game because they do play really good football at home. In week 4, the Broncos played the Chiefs here at Mile High Stadium. They landed up losing this game. It was a very close game. They could have won this game, and my original prediction was that they were to lose this game. And I did pick the Broncos to lose to the Chiefs here at Mile High Stadium and on the road in Kansas City. I just didn't see them beating the Chiefs because I knew that the Chiefs would probably be the better team this season. And after winning Super Bowl 50, and even when they had Peyton Manning as the quarterback, the Broncos just had a hard time beating the Chiefs here in Denver and in Kansas City. So I knew that the Chiefs were going to be a good team this year, which they landed up being. In week 5, the Broncos went on the road to New York. They played against the Jets. October 7 was actually my birthday, so I was hoping that the Broncos won this game and beat the Jets, but unfortunately they lost this game. And my original prediction was that they were to win this game and beat the Jets. In week 6, the Broncos played the Rams here at Mile High Stadium. They landed up losing this game, but it was a close game, and my original prediction was that they were to lose this game. In week 7, the Broncos went on the road to Arizona to play against the Cardinals. They landed up winning this game, and my original prediction was that they were to win this game. In week 8, the Broncos went on the road to Kansas City. They landed up losing this game, but it was a close game, just like the other one was here in Denver. So the Broncos had a chance at winning against the Chiefs here in Denver and in Kansas City, and they both landed up being close games. So my original prediction was that the Broncos lost to the Chiefs in Kansas City, just like they did in Denver. In week 9, the Broncos played against the Texans here at Mile High Stadium. They landed up losing this game. It was a close game, but my original prediction was that they were to win this game. Week 10 was their bye week. After the bye week, in week 11, the Broncos went on the road to Los Angeles to play against the Chargers. The Broncos landed up winning this game by 1 point, and my original prediction was that the Broncos were to lose this game. I knew that the Broncos would also have a hard time beating the Chargers on the road in Los Angeles, and probably here in Denver at Mile High Stadium, because I knew the Chargers were going to be a great team as well, and that the AFC West was going to be very competitive, especially between in Week 12. The Broncos played against the Steelers here at Mile High Stadium. They landed up winning this game, and my original prediction was that they were to lose this game. In Week 13, the Broncos went on the road to Cincinnati to play against the Bengals. They landed up winning this game, and my original prediction was that they were to win this game. In Week 14, the Broncos went on the road to San Francisco to go against the 49ers. They landed up losing this game, but my original prediction was that they were to win this game, especially with the 49ers losing Jimmy Garoppolo and Jimmy Garoppolo being out for the rest of the season. But at this point in time, after so many of the key players on offense and defense for the Broncos suffered season-ending injuries, I believe at this point in time during the regular season, once it got to this week and into December, that the injuries just got to the Broncos, since the Broncos had to play many rookies or players that didn't have that much experience in the NFL, both on the offense and the defense, so they just had a hard time scoring points and stopping opposing teams from scoring points. But if the Broncos were healthy, they should have beat the 49ers this week. In Week 15, the Broncos went against the Browns here at Mile High Stadium. They landed up losing this game by 1 point, another close game, in a game that they should have won. And my original prediction was that the Broncos were to win this game. The Browns definitely had a better season this year compared to the last few seasons combined. So they landed up winning more games, and they landed up being a really good team and a really big threat to a lot of their opposing teams. So after all the injuries to the Broncos, I was kind of expecting for the Browns to come in here and want to win this game, and they landed up winning this game just like I predicted once the season got into December. In Week 16, the Broncos went on the road to Oakland to play against the Raiders. They landed up losing this game. My original prediction was that they were to win this game. In Week 17, the Broncos played against the Chargers here at Mile High Stadium. They landed up losing this game, and my original prediction was that the Broncos were to lose this game against the Chargers. For the Chargers, I was kind of expecting the Broncos to win one of the two games, not both of the games, because I knew that the Chargers were going to be another great team in the AFC West, and that the Chiefs and the Chargers were both going to be competition to the Broncos, and I knew that they were just going to be the better teams in the AFC West. So that's a recap of the 2018 regular season for the Denver Broncos. What to watch for in the 2019 regular season. Right now, all the opponents got released of what teams the Broncos play here at Mile High Stadium and on the road. So to start off with the 2019 opponents, the Broncos play the Chiefs, Chargers, and Raiders. They play these teams every year since they're divisional teams and they're in the AFC West. They play them here at Mile High Stadium and on the road. Here at Mile High Stadium, the Broncos will go against the Browns once again, the Lions, the Bears, the Titans, and the Jaguars. On the road, the Broncos will go against the Bills, Vikings, Packers, Colts, and Texans. So that's all the opponents and what teams the Broncos will face in 2019. The games to watch out for are definitely the Browns, the Bears, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Packers, and the Texans. That's definitely the games that you want to watch, whether they're here at Mile High Stadium or on the road. That's definitely their best games in the 2019 regular season, and we're just going to have to wait and see The official schedule for every NFL team doesn't get released until April, so we're going to have to wait and see what week the Broncos go against these teams, what day, what time, if they're going to have any prime time games. The Broncos didn't have that many prime time games in 2018 due to their previous record of 5-11 in 2017. So in 2019, I'm kind of expecting that the Broncos don't have that many primetime games, so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens there. The NFL playoff picture is set for the AFC and the NFC. Super Bowl 53 is on February 3rd in Atlanta, Georgia at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So looking at the playoff picture in the AFC and the NFC, the Chiefs won the AFC West. They're the first seed. They clinched home field advantage in the first round bye. The Patriots won the AFC East. They're the second seed and they clinched the first round bye. The Texans won the AFC South and they're the third seed. The Ravens won the AFC North and they're the fourth seed. The Chargers are the first wildcard team in the AFC and they're the fifth seed. The Colts are the second wildcard team in the AFC and they're the sixth seed. The Saints won the NFC South. They're the first seed. They clinched home field advantage in the first round bye. The Rams won the NFC West. They're the second seed and they clinched the first round bye. The Bears won the NFC North and they're the third seed. The Cowboys won the NFC East and they're the fourth seed. The Seahawks are the first wildcard team in the NFC and they're the fifth seed. The Eagles are the second wildcard team in the NFC and they're the sixth seed. So that's the playoff picture in the AFC and the NFC heading into the postseason. So looking at Black Monday, the day after the regular season ended in the NFL, during the season, the Packers fired head coach Mike McCarthy. After 16 years as being the Bengals head coach, Marvin Lewis has finally been fired by the Bengals. Marvin Lewis went 131 in 22-3, and he had a 0-7 postseason record since he could never win a playoff game. The Jets fired head coach Todd Bowles. The Dolphins fired head coach Adam Gase. The Buccaneers fired head coach Dirk Cutler. The Cardinals fired head coach Steve Wilks. The Buccaneers fired head coach Dirk Cutler. The Cardinals fired head coach Steve Wilks. The Broncos, Packers, Bengals, Browns, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Dolphins, and Jets will all be looking for a new head coach. The Falcons fired offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian, defensive coordinator Marcellin Manuel, and special teams coordinator Keith Armstrong. The head coaches who are safe are John Harbaugh, Ravens, Doug Morin, Jaguars, and Ron Rivera, Panthers. John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens, got very lucky that the Ravens made it into the playoffs and they won the AFC North. If the Ravens didn't make it into the playoffs, then it was very likely that the Ravens were going to fire John Harbaugh. So he got very lucky there that the Ravens made it into the playoffs this year. The Raiders hired Mike Maycock to be their next general manager. Patrick Mahomes joined Peyton Manning and Tom Brady as the only three quarterbacks in NFL history to throw 50-plus touchdowns in a single season. So Patrick Mahomes landed up throwing 50 touchdowns. With the numbers that Patrick Mahomes has, it's very likely that he will win NFL MVP. He definitely has a strong case, and he'd be one of the candidates. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens there. But congrats to Patrick Mahomes on having a great regular season. Larry Fitzgerald is the third player in NFL history with 1,300 career receptions. Bills defensive tackle Kyle Williams announced he is retiring from the NFL after this season ended. The Browns finished the season 7-8-1, and rookie quarterback Baker Mayfield finished the season with 27 touchdowns, which is the most touchdowns in a rookie season that was held by Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson, having 26 touchdowns in their rookie season. The Browns definitely improved this season. Their future is bright since they had more wins this season than in the last few years combined. And it looks like they have a franchise quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Also keep an eye out. Baker Mayfield will possibly win NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But he definitely has a strong case. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the rest of the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now. Right now I'm going to tell you the NFL regular season Week 17 final scores. So to start off, the Miami Dolphins went against the Buffalo Bills. The final score, the Bills won 42-17. The Atlanta Falcons went against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The final score, the Falcons won 34-32. The Dallas Cowboys went against the New York Giants. The final score, the Cowboys won 36-35. The Carolina Panthers went against the New Orleans Saints. The final score, the Panthers won 33-14. The New York Jets went against the New England Patriots. The final score, the Patriots won 38-3. The Jacksonville Jaguars went against the Houston Texans. The final score, the Texans won 20-3. The Detroit Lions went against the Green Bay Packers. The final score, the Lions won 31-0. The Philadelphia Eagles went against the Washington Redskins. The final score, the Eagles won 24-0. The Los Angeles Chargers went against the Denver Broncos. The final score, the Chargers won 23-9. The Oakland Raiders went against the Kansas City Chiefs. The final score, the Chiefs won 35-3. The Chicago Bears went against the Minnesota Vikings. The final score, the Bears won 24-10. The Cleveland Browns went against the Baltimore Ravens. The final score, the Ravens won 26-24. The San Francisco 49ers went against the Los Angeles Rams. The final score, the Rams won 48-32. The Cincinnati Bengals went against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The final score, the Steelers won 16-13. The Arizona Cardinals went against the Seattle Seahawks. The final score, the Seahawks won 27-24. And the Indianapolis Colts went against the Tennessee Titans. The final score, the Colts won 33-17. So that's all the final scores from the last week of the 2018 regular season football schedule. So looking back at the last week of regular season football, there's not really a lot of highlights since the teams that have already made it into the playoffs in the AFC and the NFC weren't too concerned about winning their last game of the regular season since their position or their seeding wouldn't change. So they ended up either playing their starters for part of the game or sitting their starters out for the entire game. But there were only a few games that really mattered for certain teams in the AFC and the NFC that were still in the hunt for a playoff spot or to get a different seeding in their conference. So in the Colts-Titans game, the Colts needed to win this game if they wanted to get the last playoff spot in the AFC and be the second wildcard team. So they did end up winning this game. In the Browns-Ravens game, the Ravens had to win this game if they wanted to win the AFC North, which they ended up winning the game. In the Raiders-Chiefs game, the Chiefs had to win this game if they wanted to be the first seed in the AFC, have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and a first round bye, which they ended up winning the game. So as long as the Chiefs can win their games and get to the Super Bowl in the AFC, everything will be going through Kansas City. In the Chargers-Broncos game, the Chargers wanted to win this game in case the Chiefs lost to the Raiders, so the Chargers could be the first seed in the AFC and not be the fifth seed in the AFC. But because the Chiefs did win their game, the Chiefs ended up being the first seed in the AFC, and the Chargers ended up remaining as the fifth seed in the first wildcard team in the AFC. In the Eagles-Redskins game, the Eagles were still in the hunt for the last playoff spot in the NFC and for the second wildcard spot, so they landed up having to win this game, and they would need the Vikings to lose if they wanted to make it into the playoffs as the 6th seed in the second wildcard team. So the Eagles landed up winning their game. In the Bears-Vikings game, the Vikings landed up losing this game, and before week 17, the Vikings were holding on to the 6th seed, the second wildcard spot in the last playoff spot in the NFC, but because they lost the game, they got eliminated from the playoffs. And since the Eagles won their game against the Redskins, the Eagles landed up sliding into the 6th seed in the second wildcard spot in the NFC and making it into the playoffs. And for all the other teams that didn't make it into the playoffs this year, Week 17 was their final game of their season. So that's the final scores, what teams went against each other, and the highlights from the last week of regular season football, and also what teams made it into the playoffs this year. So right now I'm going to tell you what teams go up against each other in the wild card weekend and in the first week of postseason football. So to start off, on Saturday we got the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans, and the Seattle Seahawks versus the Dallas Cowboys. On Saturday, the Colts-Texans game will be the first game, and the Seahawks-Cowboys game will be the second game. And on Sunday, we got the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Baltimore Ravens, and the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Chicago Bears. So on Sunday, the Chargers-Ravens game will be the first game, and the Eagles-Bears game will be the second game. So that's the matchups and what teams go up against each other in the wild card weekend. So what to watch for? The Colts-Texans game is another divisional matchup between the Colts and the Texans. The Seahawks-Cowboys game should be a good game. The Chargers-Ravens game, it's going to be another rematch between the two teams. The Ravens landed up going on the road to Los Angeles and beating the Chargers. So now the Chargers are going on the road to Baltimore, and they're going to try to beat the Ravens at home. This year the Chargers have played better football on the road compared to being in Los Angeles. So this is a chance for the Chargers to get some revenge against the Ravens. And the Eagles-Bears game should be another great game as well. The following weekend is the Divisional Games. The Chiefs and Patriots get a bye week this week since they were the first and second seed in the AFC. And the Saints and Rams get a bye week this week since they were the first and second seed in the NFC. So the Chiefs, Patriots, Saints, and Rams will be waiting to see who they will go up against next week in the divisional playoff games. Then the following week is the conference championship games in the AFC and in the NFC. And then the following week, towards the end of January, is the Pro Bowl. And in between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl is the Pro Bowl. And the two teams that are going to be participating and representing the AFC and the NFC in the Super Bowl this year get a bye week, and they get a 2-week break before the big game, which is the Super Bowl, the first weekend in February. So once we get to February, the first Sunday will be Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta, Georgia at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is the current playoff picture, what teams go up against each other in the wild card weekend. Then I also gave you the postseason schedule from wild card weekend all the way to Super Bowl 53. So I'm definitely looking forward to what teams make it to the conference championship games and what two teams will be in the Super Bowl. It's definitely a wide open competition in the AFC. Whatever team plays better will likely get to the Super Bowl. My prediction is that the Chiefs or the Patriots, whoever plays better, will come out of the AFC. And in the NFC, my prediction is that the Saints come out of the NFC. So the Super Bowl should be between the Patriots and the Saints. That would be my prediction. And this is the year that Drew Brees and the Saints win their second Super Bowl. So I'm predicting that the Saints win the Super Bowl this year. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. It's definitely an open competition in the postseason. And I'm definitely looking forward to what two teams make it to the Super Bowl this year. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens in this year's postseason. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA and NHL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. Wizards' John Wall is planning to undergo season-ending surgery on his left heel, so he's expected to be out for the rest of the season. The Nuggets waived Nick Young, Swaggy P. Right now I'm going to give you the current NBA standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. To start off in the Eastern Conference, and number 1 is the Milwaukee Bucks, and number 2 is the Toronto Raptors, and number 3 is the Indiana Pacers, and number 4 is the Philadelphia 76ers, and number 5 is the Boston Celtics, and number 6 is the Miami Heat, and number 7 is the Charlotte Hornets, and at number 8 is the Detroit Pistons. So that's the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, and number 1, believe it or not, is the Denver Nuggets. They're still holding on to the first spot in the Western Conference going into 2019. And number 2 is the Golden State Warriors. And number 3 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And number 4 is the Houston Rockets. And number 5 is the Portland Trail Blazers. And number 6 is the Los Angeles Clippers. At number 7 is the San Antonio Spurs. And at number 8 is the Los Angeles Lakers. So that's the top 8 teams in the Western Conference. And that's the current NBA standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. In the Week 12 NBA Power Rankings, the current top 10 NBA basketball teams are the Bucks, Warriors, Raptors, Nuggets, Pacers, Thunder, 76ers, Rockets, Celtics, and Lakers. Moving on now to NHL Hockey. On New Year's Day, the Boston Bruins went against the Chicago Blackhawks at Notre Dame Stadium in the NHL Winter Classic. The final score was the Bruins beat the Blackhawks 4-2. Right now I'm going to give you the current NHL standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. In the NHL, the division standings go off the amount of goals the team scored, not by the wins or losses by the team. So to start off in the Eastern Conference in the Metropolitan Division, right now Washington's leading this division at 51 points. Pittsburgh's right behind them at 50 points, and Columbus is right behind them at 49 points. In the Atlantic Division right now, Tampa Bay is leading this division at 64 points, and they got a pretty big lead in this division. In the Western Conference, in the Central Division, right now Winnipeg's leading this division at 52 points, and Nashville's right behind them at 50 points. And in the Pacific Division, right now Calgary is leading this division at 54 points. Vegas is right behind them at 52 points, and San Jose is right behind them at 51 points. So that's the current NHL standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about college football, college basketball, and the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to college football. All of the major bowl games, which included the best college football teams, were last weekend and on New Year's Day. Number 10 Florida beat number 7 Michigan 41-15 in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Number 1 Alabama beat number 4 Oklahoma 45-34 in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Number 2 Clemson beat number 3 Notre Dame 30-3 in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Number 11 LSU beat number 8 UCF 40-32 in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Number 6 Ohio State beat number 9 Washington 28-23 in the Rose Bowl. And number 15 Texas beat number 5 Georgia 28-21 in the All-State Sugar Bowl. After number 6 Ohio State beat number 9 Washington 28-23 in the Rose Bowl, Ohio State's head coach Urban Meyer is retiring from college football. During the college football season, Urban Meyer announced he was going to retire after Ohio State's season ended. Number 1 Alabama will go against number 2 Clemson in the college football playoff national championship game this Monday at Levi's Stadium. Moving on now to college basketball. In the men's college basketball AP Top 10 poll, the current top 10 college basketball teams are Duke, Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia, Kansas, Nevada, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Florida State, and Virginia Tech. Moving on now to end the show. What to watch for this week in sports. The NFL playoffs start this weekend with the AFC and NFC wildcard games. In the wildcard weekend in the AFC, the Chargers go against the Ravens, the Texans go against the Colts, and in the NFC, the Bears go against the Eagles, and the Cowboys go against the Seahawks. NBA basketball, the Nuggets, college basketball, number 1 Alabama will go against number 2 Clemson in the college football playoff national championship game this Monday at Levi's Stadium. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, college football, and college basketball. Next Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m., I will be back in the Tivoli Met Radio studio on the Rary campus doing my show live. So listen to my show live next Thursday and every week going forward. I hope you all have a great weekend. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.